Hey America, so today I thought I'd talk about the great American political party switch. The switch that turned the Democrats into Republicans. The switch that moved all the racists over to one side and all the good people over to the other side. The switch that never happened. Yeah, that's right kids, this switch never happened. But first, let's talk about what the switch is. The Great American Political Party Switch is basically the idea that after the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed by Congress and approved by LBJ, all the Democrats who were pissed off that it did pass moved over to the Republican Party. And all the Republicans who did approve of the bill passing moved over to the Democrat side. Because obviously, if a Democratic president signed the bill into law, then that means all the Democrats who hated the bill switched parties and the Republicans moved over to the other side, right? No, Jimmy, no. Let's look at the two facts that give this party switching myth some foundation. 1. Whites in the South who used to be Democrat now vote Republican. And 2. Blacks who used to vote Republican now vote Democrat. Alright, we've got some heavy shit to cover in this video. So based on this voting pattern, surely then it must be correct that blacks changed their votes to the Democrat Party because they could see all these racists moving over to their party and oh god no thanks, let's get out of here. Well, not quite. Let's start with the black voting trend first. This trend of the black vote moving over to the Democratic Party was occurring as early as the 1930s when the granddaddy of the Democratic Party, FDR, introduced his New Deal plan, in which he offered up a whole bunch of programs for blacks, and with the help of activists like Mary Bethanu and Robert Vann, who was quoted as saying, "My friends, go home and turn Lincoln's picture to the wall." Okay. We're able to receive many of the benefits of these programs. Some of these programs include a share of the National Youth Administration funds, and getting employed by the Works Progress Administration, and receiving a lot of work relief benefits. But not only did the New Deal help blacks, it also discriminated against them, particularly with the National Recovery Administration, which offered jobs to whites first, and could also pay blacks less than their white counterparts. And the Civilian Conservation Corps kept black workers in segregated camps. But, context folks, this was all during the middle of the Great Depression. The fact that anyone could supposedly just get a job from the government was way better than sitting around on the sidewalk begging and starving. Oh, we lost our home. Oh, we ran out of money. Oh, we ran out of food. Oh, we had to eat the cat. Oh. So if this Democratic administration was offering you a job and monetary benefits, well, shit. As long as they're still around, they're gonna get my vote. Now, it wasn't all quite like this. In fact, most blacks resented having to now vote for the party which was in bed with the Klan and Jim Crow. I mean, this is the party famous for the Klan bake in the 1920s, the party of lynching laws, the party of Bull Connor, the party of this asshole who blocked the Little Rock Nine from attending school. But the economic benefits that could be obtained with siding with the Democratic Party outweighed the, well, I guess the nothingness of the Republican Party at the time. It's not like you were going to see any unemployment or social security benefits being handed out from the Republicans. That's just not something the party platform was into. And still not really into for most of the party. And that's not to say that they're wrong for not giving in to the entitlement benefits and whatnot. In fact, there's a whole lot of evidence to suggest that FDR's New Deal policies extended the Great Depression for nearly a whole decade because of the constant meddling with the economy. So anyways, this was a bit of a devil's bargain for the black voter. And as long as they could continue to receive economic benefits, the Democrats would continue to get the vote. And this only solidified Democratic support when the Great Society welfare programs were put into place by LBJ. Fully trapping the black voter into government dependency, and for LBJ, effectively solidifying a black voting bloc. I mean, this is the guy who was well known for having said this exact quote among his peers. "I'll have those voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And this one he said when he appointed Judge Marshall to the Supreme Court. "Son, when I appoint to the court, I want everyone to know he's a..." So it's not like the Democrats are some kind of perfect angels here. Now let's move over to the second fact on this list. All these white racist Democrats now suddenly voting Republican. So the basic gist with this one is that after the Civil Rights Act was passed, a bunch of disgruntled racist white folks changed parties and started voting Republican. Well, not so. This trend of whiteys starting to vote Republican begins occurring well over a decade before the Civil Rights Act was even passed, as industry from the North began moving south and upholstering all the agrarian industries and creating new cities and suburbs. The people living in those regions started voting more Republican. They were having some economic prosperity and voted for more free trade economics, pushing out that already poor and pissed off racist farmer who would in turn continue voting for the Democrats as he was having a pretty tough time surviving as a farmer and would need some of those juicy government benefits. because he's not going to be getting things like that from Republicans. Meanwhile, he would probably continue to scapegoat blacks for all his problems, and those damn Republicans, solidifying his continued vote for the Democrats. This was especially prevalent back when the Democratic Party was still best known as the party who would look out for the little guy. I don't even know what they stand for now. The party who looks out for the blue-haired, transgender, lesbian, black, Muslim midget, or some other weird minority shit like that? Cause as their history would suggest, they can't stop obsessing over race. But back to the poor white farmer. This guy, and the many other white racists like him, who were rooted in the Deep South, never switched. They were Democrats until the day they died. The Republicans, on the other hand, slowly started growing in influence on the peripheries of the southern states, and would even go on to win some of those states in the 1952 and 1956 elections. Yeah, you'd think that if the racists would be switching sides, that maybe the super racists in the Deep South would turn first, right? In fact, Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1952 picked up 3 southern periphery states in the election, and in 1956 he picked up 3 more southern states, and this was after he had sent down the 101st Airborne to Little Rock. Did the racists all just suddenly not care that he supported the Brown versus Board decision and enforced black desegregation in public schools? Well, surely then all those congressmen who voted against the Civil Rights Act became Republicans, No, only one did. Strom Thurmond. The rest? They all remained lifelong Democrats. Even all the other Democrats who filibustered the Civil Rights Act for over 70 days remained Democrats. Who were some of these people? Well, for one, we have Al Gore's dad. Yep, he was part of the filibuster, and he even voted against it. And he was a lifelong Democrat. But of course, Al Gore himself would try to say that his father was some sort of civil rights hero, because that's what he does. Lie. And here's another famous one. Robert Byrd of West Virginia. Filibustered the Civil Rights Act, voted against the Civil Rights Act, and voted against the Voting Rights Act, and I'll be damned, he was an exalted cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan. Well, surely he switched over to the Republican. Nope. Lifelong Democrat. But of course, they all apologized and said they were sorry and all that, and the news media forgave them, along with the rest of the Democratic elite, no hard feelings. Even Obama gave a nice little eulogy to him, and oh, we just love our formerly racist Democrats who never switched sides even though we keep saying they did. Perhaps one thing that Democrats need to consider is that maybe political landscapes change over time, not parties. Alright, this video is getting a bit long, so I'll just leave it at that. There's a lot more to this issue that I'll cover in another video regarding the Southern strategy. But for now, hope you all enjoyed this little taste of political juice. I'll be seeing you next time.